Spanning 2 decades, the Vietnam War inflicted much suffering on the nation's people, claiming the lives of 3 million Vietnamese and 58,000 American troops. But after so many years of conflict, when it came, the end was swift. The chaotic evacuation of Saigon as North Vietnamese forces descended on the city marked the last chapter of American involvement in the Vietnam War.
On Tuesday, April 29th, the streets of Saigon, usually jammed with traffic at the morning rush hour, are quiet. The attack by communist aircraft at Saigon's Ton Son airport the day before has prompted a 24-hour curfew, and the only people allowed on the streets are emergency personnel and policemen. With communist forces only a few miles from the center of Saigon, the order to evacuate American personnel is given. Americans and citizens of third countries who have been guaranteed space on the airlift gather at assembly points for the bus ride to Ton Son Air Base. But the buses have to be abandoned when helicopters at Ton Son come under fire from both Communist and South Vietnamese troops. The American ambassador, Graham Martin, took personal control of the evacuation. Marines used smoke to signal helicopters they should now land on the lawn behind the embassy walls, where they would be more protected from ground fire. For the frightened civilians, the first few hundred feet were the most dangerous. After that, they were out of range of rifle and pistol fire. The hardest part was the waiting. Many people said it was unnerving to be waiting for a ride to safety and to be hearing the fighting all around. There was always the fear that the fighting would end the helicopter runs, stranding people in the besieged city. Thousands of Vietnamese ignored the curfew, hoping to get a spot on an American helicopter. When crowds began crushing the fence, the embassy called in U.S. Marines to protect the gates. As evening approached, Ambassador Martin emerged to join the others and making the flight to an American aircraft carrier 40 miles offshore. There were more than 80 helicopters shuttling people out to the carriers. South Vietnamese army pilots flew their families to safety aboard the carriers as well. But because there wasn't room to store their helicopters and those flown by American pilots, the Vietnamese were forced to ditch their aircraft at sea. Then pilots were picked up by American Navy rescue boats. As dusk fell on Saigon, helicopters were still taking people out of the embassy compound. In all, approximately 7,000 people, most of them Vietnamese, were airlifted to safety during the 12-hour operation. The decks of the American ships were already too crowded, leaving little to no room for more landings. So one by one, as each Huey landed and unloaded its passengers, it was pushed overboard by deck crews. The very last Americans were lifted out of the U.S. Embassy in Saigon at 7:53 a.m. local time, just hours before North Vietnamese troops entered the city. This marked the official end of the Vietnam War and the fall of Saigon.